BoLS fans, AdamHarry back once again with some more Blood Bowl action. Today, I've got the box here, but more importantly, I promise you guys we'd do this later, and that time is now. We're going to go through the rules of Blood Bowl. We're going to run through the rulebook really quick, and then I'm actually going to set up a couple of things, and we're going to show the game in action, and so just so you guys can see how it all plays. So real quick, let's move the box out of the way, and we'll dive on into the book. So the official rules of Blood Bowl come in this little booklet here. It's 56 pages, full color. Show that off before. I want to jump in real quick, show the table of contents. It's got a really quick introduction to what exactly is in the box, what exactly Blood Bowl is. It even has, later on, we'll get to this, it's got a quick Blood Bowl Bootcamp that'll walk you through some basics of the game. Some of the stuff we're actually going to show off in a quick demo game I'm going to set up. But it also has your core rules, which are really simple stuff, just how to do the sequence of play, what's a block, what's a turnover, movement, tackle zones, all that fun stuff. The extra rules, so if you want to play in a more competitive environment, if you want to add in some extra stuff to make the game a little bit more interesting, you can do that. One of the big things there is the illegal procedure rule, which if you're a veteran Blood Bowl player, you're probably familiar with that. If you're new, you should probably skip that for your first couple games at least until you feel comfortable with the core rules. So real quick, we're going to jump on in. In the book too, I want to call this out, the actual person playing the game is a coach, and the players are referred to as, that's the models. So the players on the team are the models, not the players playing the game. So one of those crazy meta things. Real quick too, in the last video I had no idea what this symbol was. It's actually the throw-in template. So what happens is anytime a ball bounces out of bounds in the game, which it does happen because there are bounces, it can go out of bounds. If it is knocked out of bounds, the crowd will throw the ball back in, and it'll randomly bounce based on the template 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as you can see in there. But that's the throw-in template. I was right about this one. This is the bounce template, the scatter template with those 8 points, the 8 directions the ball can bounce. That one's pretty straightforward. There is this template too, which is the passing template, which I had no idea what it was because before it was just like in one of the editions it was a clear plastic strip. So I had no idea what this was, but this is actually the passing template, which is pretty cool. So you have your quick pass, your short pass, long bomb, and of course if there are any interposing players there, you can get an interception and things like that, which I'm not going to cover right now, but I just wanted to let you know what that was, and we'll get into all that stuff a little bit later too. It also breaks down everything that you need to know as far as what the templates are and the rules, all that fun stuff. The dugout, how to read the dugout, which is kind of important. You've got your first half turn track marker here. You have to every game of Blood Bowl consists of 2 halves. So first half, second half. Each player is going to keep track of their own turn track, and you have alternating turns. So on the first turn you're there, second turn there, and you're responsible for moving your own. If you forget to move it, the other player can call an illegal procedure and you lose your turn, literally. So that's pretty crazy. There's the score track up top, which only keeps track of your touchdowns. There's no field goals in this game. There's no extra points. It is just a straight touchdown game. So that's how that goes. You've got your reserves box, your knocked out box, which players go there, knocked out players go there. And then your dead and injured player box, which at bad times you want your opponents to fill up, but not yours. Because if yours is filling up, you're probably going to be in trouble. You also have a reroll track, which is one of the neat things to balance the games. Sometimes, especially in league play, the teams can get kind of spread out in terms of player skill, or not player skill, player skill, like the models will actually gain more stats. And so that's kind of a big deal to help later on, even it out, you get the rerolls. Aside from that, each player is actually going to get their own set of footballs and dice and everything like that within the box set. I don't know what the plans are for the future box sets, which we've seen pictures of, just the boxes, but not the actual sprues. So we'll see what happens from there. This is the really quick boot camp. If you've never played before, this is probably where you want to start. It starts on page 8. It's just a quick start guide to how to play Blood Bowl. It explains all the basics here. The first thing they're going to teach you about is the moving and dodging, how movement works. Every player, meaning the miniature again, has a movement stat or movement value. That's how far they can move on their turn. On a player turn, you get one action per player, and we'll go into all that, but just for now I want to cover the move action. You have your move stat, that's how many squares you can move. You can move diagonal, you can move sideways, any of the 8 directions you can move, so that's cool. But you can only move up to that max amount unless you want to push it, but we'll get to that later. We're not going to worry about that right now. That's just the basic move stuff. In this first example, it's just a lineman is going to run up here to get into this Orc's tackle zone, which we'll get to here shortly. And then right here you have it kind of explains how the tackle zones and dodging works. So this is the 8 adjacent squares that surround a model or surround a player on the field. All of these 8 squares are considered their tackle zone. If they are standing up, they are threatening those zones. If opposing team player moves to those zones, that player moving through the zone has to make dodging attempts to continue moving through the zone. And there's a chart for that too, which we'll talk about shortly. But basically, if in this example, the human player wants to move out of the orc player's zone, therefore he's got to make a dodge attempt. He rolled a 5, he gets out of the zone, no problem. If he failed that attempt, some bad things could happen later on. We get into drill 2, which is just blocking and blitzing, and talks about the differences of that. So one of the next action you can do, the first is move, second here is block. That action just means a player can push or block an opposing lineman or attempt to, and that causes a block roll. That's going to use the block dice, which are the custom dice we get in the game here, and it will have different effects, and I'll show you that chart here in a minute. We'll get to that later. In this example, the orc blocked just fine. He actually rolled the correct so he rolled a knockdown result, which is good. So it actually pushes him back, so it's a successful block, so it pushes him back and knocks him down. And then you actually have to roll. Anytime a player gets knocked down, you have to roll versus their armor value. If they fail that roll, which is rolling over that armor value, it's considered a failure. Then that player gets injured. You roll on the injury chart, and that could even take them out of the game. So pretty cool there. So, and again, we'll go over all these icons here in a bit on the die. The next move is blitzing. This is another action. This is a unique action. You can only do it once per turn on your turn. So how this works is the player gets to still do a move, gets to do their regular move, -1, because somewhere along that you're going to use a block action as well. So let's try to explain this a little bit better. This orc here has a movement of 5, and it's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, and then use its last move to throw a block. This is a special blitz action. Anywhere along that line, though, he could actually throw a block. So if you wanted to move here and throw a block, if there was a model there, you could do it, but he's doing it at the end. He rolled both the block dice and gets the skull and knockdown result, which means both players are actually knocked down, and each coach makes the appropriate armor roll and any damage roll as well. So that's what that gets to. So blitzing is a very important thing. Again, you can only do that once per player turn. So as a coach, you want to pick your most important block to be done. With that blitz, you got to be careful though. Knocking stuff down, knocking your own guys down can actually in your turn, which we'll get to later on. Passing drill, very simple, very straightforward. A pass basically allows a player to use their move to move like normal, and then at the end of that move, they can throw the ball. That's pretty much it. The short pass. There is a roll involved, which we'll show that chart off here in a bit. And you have to throw the ball and you have to catch the ball. And if you do not catch the ball, it causes it to scatter using the scatter die, and that can actually cause a big mess where players have to try to pick it up, and it can also end the rules end the turn if you fail that roll. So those were just some basic training tips. Here we get into the actual rules of the game. This is where you're going to actually find all of your correct terminology, the charts and things like that you're going to want to do. Talk to you about setting up the game. Real quick too, the board is actually divided into 3 different sections. Just let me flip back here and show this off. There is the center line here, center section with the line of scrimmage here, which is the 50-yard line. If you're an American football fan, you know what I'm talking about. It's the halfway point between the 2 end zones. Then you've got these 2 wide zones on either side of the core line here. The wide zones are important because when you do setup, you can only have maximum of 2 players per wide zone. So that's kind of a big deal later on. As you can see here, there's only 2 players deployed in the wide zone. All of the other players have to need to be deployed in the center line. And you have to have at least 3 players on the line of scrimmage up front. So that totals out to 11 players. There's some rules in there. If you can't do that due to injuries or what have you, it's all covered in the rules. Kickoff, that's basically just placing the ball on the opposite. So if you're kicking off, you're placing it on the opposing team behind them and scattering the die, which I'm going to skip over for now. The sequence of play is really easy. You're going to do the receiving player or receiving team's turn first, then the kicking team's turn, and you're just going to alternate turns. So I don't move a guy, then you move a guy. It's I move a guy, I move another guy. I go down the line until all of my guys have either moved, I've completed my turn, or something catastrophic has gone wrong, and I have to end my turn for other reasons, such as turnovers, which we'll get to. So that's how that works. Don't forget to move your turn marker. It's one of the most important things in the game. You need to move your turn markers because it is a turn-based game, and you have to keep track of that. I can't iterate this point enough. Holy cow, I have lost games because I forgot to move the turn marker. So don't forget to move the turn marker. Player actions, which I already kind of talked about. You've got a list of actions here. You've got move, block, blitz, pass, and that's pretty much it. So if you move onto the ball, there's a pickup roll. That is not an action, it's part of the move. So keep that in mind too. Turnovers are very important and very bad, just like in a real football game. You don't want to turn the ball over. If a player on the moving team is knocked down, so if you're the active player and one of your players is knocked down, that can actually end the turn. Let me just read this quick. A player on the moving team is knocked down. Being injured by the crowd or being placed prone is not a turnover unless it is a player from the active team holding the ball. So if your ball runner gets knocked down, that counts as a turnover. Skills like diving tackle, piling on, and wrestle count as being placed prone. So that is not the same thing. Another case of turnover, a pass ball or handoff, which is another rule, handoff, is not caught by any member of the moving team before the ball comes to rest. So if you throw the ball and it bounces around, that can be a turnover. A player from the moving team attempts to pick up a ball and fails. Note that failing a catch roll as opposed to failing a pickup is by itself never a turnover. Or a touchdown is scored, which will end the turn immediately because you just scored and then you're going to reset and kick off. Again, if you just score a touchdown, just like in American football, you become the kicking team. The other team is the receiving team. There's no downs in this game, so you don't get 4 tries and then the quarter's done. It's just back and forth, back and forth. A pass attempt is fumbled even if a player from that team catches the fumbled ball. So that's a big one. So if I make a throw and it bounces around and one of my team members drops the pass or misses the pass, it bounces around and they pick up the pass somehow. So that's a fumbled pass and it is a turnover. A player with the ball is thrown or is attempted to be thrown using the throw teammate, which is a special rule, which is pretty fun, and fails to land successfully, including being eaten or squirming free from an always hungry roll, which can be a thing. A player is ejected by the referee for a foul. So that's another one. Fouls are when the player is knocked down. You can foul them, shank them with a knife or whatever and try to take them out of the game permanently. So when you suffer a turnover, your turn ends immediately. You can't do any extra moves. If you're in the middle of the move, your turn's done, and that's that. So stun players, stun is another condition. We'll get to that. All right, so that was hopefully clear. Turnovers are bad. Don't do that. Movement, we talked about the tackle zones, how that all works. A 6 always passes, by the way, if you're doing a dodge roll. Just in general, a 6 always passes, a 1 always fails across the board in this game. Tackle zones, and we talked about tackle zones, you will have to make an agility move to get out of a dodge zone. And there are some modifiers to that, but basically it's based on the number 7. So if my agility is 3, base, I'm going to need a 4+ to get out of that. If my agility is 1, I'm going to need 6. If my agility is 5, I'm going to need 2. That's what I'm saying. It's based on the number 7. If you play Warhammer 40K, familiar with the ballistics chart, it's going to be really easy to get your head around that. There are some modifiers which talked about. Just making a dodge roll in general, you actually get a +1 modifier. So even if you have an agility 1, you get a +1 modifier for trying to dodge. Bad news is you get a -1 per opposing tackle zone on the square that the player is dodging to. So if I'm in somebody's tackle zone and I'm dodging out of it, I actually get a +1. And there's no negative there because I'm dodging away from a player. Good to go. If I'm going into a tackle zone, whether or not I'm leaving a tackle zone already, if I'm going into somebody's tackle zone, I get a +1 because I'm making a dodge roll, but I get a -1 because there's one player's tackle zone. If I have overlapping tackle zones and I have to try to move through that, that's bad times. So that's going to be a minus for each player's tackle zone I'm moving through. Just want to throw that out there. Picking up the ball is actually based on agility. So same deal, player's agility based on number 7. That's how that works. Again, there are modifiers. You get a +1 just for trying to pick up the ball. So even if you're agility 1, you're always going to succeed on a +1. However, you get a -1 per opposing tackle zone on the player. So if you're in a tackle zone and you're attempting to pick up the ball, and there's 3 guys around you, you're overlapping tackle zones, it's -3. It's hard to pick up a ball in a dog pile. So pretty easy to go through there. Example of dodging. So you can see where it's talking about he's actually going from 1 tackle zone into 2 tackle zone, or he's actually going from 2 to 2, but whatever, 1, 2. So he's going into 2 tackle zones and he's leaving that. So basically that's how that works. Blocks. Blocking is based on a player's strength versus the opposing player's strength. So that will determine how many dice are rolled. Blocks and blitz moves are kind of covered here, but again, both of those are based on the strength. So how that works, a player's strength is equal. You roll 1 die to determine what happens, just straight die roll. If one player stronger, 2 dice are rolled, and the coach of the stronger player chooses which die is used. So that could be bad if you're the weaker player, but that's why you want those high strength guys to be your linemen to push guys around. If you're more than twice as strong, which can happen based on upgrades and stuff, later on, usually this doesn't happen until later in the season, or you're playing against a smaller opponent team or something like that. But if you're more than twice as strong, you roll 3 dice and get to choose. The stronger player gets to choose the result. So pretty fun stuff there. Here are the symbols, which I promised we'd go over, and I'm actually going to zoom on this part because it's very important to the game. So here are the 5 symbols. There's the attacker down, which is a skull. The attacking player is knocked down. If you're the attacking player, you never want to see that come up. Both are knocked down. That's the skull and the defender down icon. Both players are knocked down. You resolve knockdowns like normal. Push, that's just a straight up shove. The defending player is pushed back 1 square by the blocking player. The attacking player may follow up the defender. So you can actually get a follow-up move. Defender stumbles. Unless the defender uses the dodge skill, so if you have the dodge skill, this is good. If you don't, bad. They're pushed back and then knocked down. If they're using the dodge skill, then they're only pushed back. So these are the 2 are basically pushes unless you have the dodge skill. Or if you don't have the dodge skill, then you're actually knocked down. The attacking player may follow up the defender. Defender down, this is what you want if you're the attacker. You never want to see this if you're the defender. The defending player is pushed back and then knocked down. In the square they are moved to. So again, you're going to push them back and fall down. Pushbacks, this is also important. You are pushed into the 3 adjacent squares directly opposite of the attacker. So if it's a corner to corner, you get those 3 squares there. If it's a straight on hit, it's those 3 squares opposite there. So you can't push him here and he'll end up back behind you or whatever weird stuff. That's not how the pushbacks work. And that's pretty much it for the pushes and stuff like that. So again, those push dice, super important. How the blocking works. Yeah, there are abilities in the game that will allow you to reroll those dice results, but I'm not going to cover that in this this review real quick, or this overview real fast. Injuries and knockdowns. Pretty bad to get knocked down. You do have to roll against your armor value. Again, any rolls over your armor value mean that you have failed the roll of 2d6. So if your armor value is 8, 9 or better is how that works. So yeah, you have to exceed the knockdown player's armor value. It is not a meet or beat. It is just a straight beat the armor value. So yeah. If you are injured, then you roll on the injury table, which I'm going to zoom in on this table because it's also bad news. So 2 to 7 is stunned, so pretty common thing to happen. An 8 or 9 is KO'd. Take the player off the pitch. If you're stunned, you just roll over, and then you have to roll over the next turn. It's not that bad. Once you're face up, then the following turn you can stand up. But if you're stunned, you're face down for at least the rest of the round. KO, take the player off the pitch, off the field, put them in the dugout in the KO player box. They don't get to come back until the next kickoff, but you have to roll. On a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 3, the player must remain in the KO box and may not be used. But but you can roll again on next kickoff. On the 4, 5, or 6, you must return the player to the reserves box and can use them as normal from now on. So that's not too horrible. 10 to 12 is a casualty. Take the player off the pitch and place them in the dugout in the dead and injured player's box. Player must miss the rest of the match, which is bad. So that's how that works. Throwing the ball, I told you guys there's going to be a chart. Here it is. I'm going to zoom in one more time just to show this chart off. So here's how it works. Here's how to use the template, all that fun stuff. Passing modifiers. So there's tons of modifiers for passing. It's actually one of the more risky aspects of the game unless you have a really high agility team. Most teams like the Orcs are going to try to muscle it in the end zone. Humans can kind of muscle it in, but it really depends on who they're playing. They may go for the big theatrical air passes too. But passing is right there. It's again based off the number 7. Pretty easy to do. Passing modifiers. A quick pass is a +1. A short pass is a straight die roll. Long pass is -1. Long bomb is -2. And then per enemy in the tackle zone on the player throwing the ball. So if I'm the quarterback or the thrower in this league, and I'm throwing the ball and I'm surrounded by 2 guys, and when I'm within their tackle zones, it's -2 to the throw. Just the more stress on you. Catching the ball. So, catching the ball, same deal. Again, based on the number 7, how that all works, we've seen. If the pass was accurate, meaning the passing roll succeeded, then you get a +1 to catch. Catching a scatter ball, bouncing ball, or kickoff, or throwing, it's just a straight roll. Per enemy tackle zone on the player catching the ball is a -1. So picking up or catching the ball, it's not too difficult. It's all about getting an accurate thrower to get you the ball, so get you that bonus. And then hopefully you're also a catcher, and so you've got a really high agility. Yeah. Moving on from there, agility's passing table, kind of covered that. Catching the football, kind of went over that. Bouncing ball, throw-ins, turnovers. Again, we touched on that lightly. I'm not going to go over all that right now. Rerolls, again, it's very important to note that rerolls are pretty much used for to balance the game out a little bit better. If you have a team rating that's way higher, you're going to get a whole lot less rerolls than the team rating that's lower than you. So that's, yeah. Team rerolls, you get to roll that. I'm not going to skip the reroll section because honestly, that's very important for league play. It does happen in regular play, but again, I'm not going to get into all that. Skills, we talked about some of these. These are just some of the skills that are in the core rules. Block, catch, dodge, pass, sure hands. If you have the block skill, it affects the results. Roll with the block die. If you have the catch skill, you can use an extra, I think it's a reroll, yeah. If you reroll for a drop a handoff or fail to make an interception and things like that. Dodge, again, allows you to do stuff in the tackle zone. Pass, players with the skill are allowed to reroll the D6 if they miss a pass. Sure hands, player with sure hands is allowed to reroll the D6 if they fail to pick up a ball. Yep. Strip ball is another extra rule, which I'm going to skip over at for now. So winning the match, whoever scores the most touchdowns. And then you can also concede the match anytime during your turn if you're really having a bad time. So this is actually where it says stop, you know how to play, go play. These are the extra rules, which we're not going to get into, but I want to show you guys they are there. It talks about how to create a Blood Bowl team, buying players. It gives you these handy dandy sheets if you want to go ahead and create player rosters and things like that. Reroll of fan factors. This was talking about with the league play, with the rerolls and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into all that. Special cards, kickoff table. You don't have to use the chart, but it's kind of fun. Do the kickoff table, all that fun stuff. Fans can actually cause problems. Weather can cause problems. A legal procedure rule can end your turn. You can play with a time limit. They recommend 4 minutes a turn. So if you play with chess clocks or in a league or something like that, you wanted to have a really high pressure game, you can play with time limit there. Go for it. This is when a player takes an action apart from a block. They may try to move 1 or 2 extra squares over and above the number they are normally allowed to move. This is called going for it. This is an extra rule. Some leagues play with it, some leagues play without it. I actually like it because it just represents that player trying to push himself a little bit further, but it's not guaranteed. What it means, what happens is you roll a d6 for the player after they've moved each extra square. On a roll of 1, the player trips and is knocked down in the square that they moved to. So it's a 1 in 6 chance of it going bad. Roll to see if they are injured, which can happen just for falling on the pitch. On any other roll, the player moves without mishap. If a player is knocked down, then the team suffers their turnover and the turn ends immediately. Again, high risk, high reward. If you need that extra square, it's a 1 in 6 chance. Why not go for it? Oh, you fell down. That's why, and it ended your turn. A player who is taking a blitz action may go for it in order to make a block. Roll a d6. So again, if you move your whole action, you want to throw that blitz block, you can still use it, go for it. On a 1, the player is knocked down just as before, but any other roll, you can block without a mishap unless you mishap during the block, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah, and if you get knocked down, you suffer a turnover, turn ends immediately. This is the handoff rule. Again, it's an extra rule, and it's just basically a +1 catching a handoff, -1 per tackle zone on the player. The ball is just simply handed to another player, friendly or friend or foe, which I don't know why you'd hand a foe the ball, but the handoff action is added to the list of actions such as move, block, and blitz, and pass. You can only declare 1 handoff action per turn. By the way, you can only declare 1 pass action per turn as well. So there's only 3 actions you can do once per turn: blitz, handoff, and pass. All right, but it's pretty straightforward. So the advantage of it is that no dice are required to see if the player attempting the handoff is successful. It automatically hits the target player. However, the player the ball is handed off to must try to catch the ball, which is where that comes in. It's just like catching an accurate pass, though, +1, -1 for each opposing player in your tackle zone. Assisting a block. So this is another optional rule. And this was where the game can get kind of complicated, if I'm perfectly honest. But let me read through these things what it does first off. If you declare a block, extra team players or the attacker and the defender can give an assist. This allows 2 or more attackers to gain on a single defender, or for 1 or more defenders to aid a companion against the block. These extra players each add +1 strength to the player, basically, when they are assisting. Assisting a block does not count as an action, and a player can only assist any number of blocks. And a player can assist any number of blocks per turn, so that's important. A player is allowed to make an assist even if they have moved or taken an action. So we're droning on here. The point is, if you have 3 guys in a line here, this guy, they're going to cancel out because he can assist. But these 2 guys, let me back up. You have to be adjacent to the enemy player involved in the block and must not be in the tackle zone of any other player from the opposing team, and must be standing and must have tackle zones of their own. There are some things that may cause a player to lose their tackle zone. So here in this case, we've got Krug Painspear. He's actually in the tackle zone of Ritter von Baum. He cannot assist the block because he's in somebody else's tackle zone. However, Gort Skullhack is not in anybody else's tackle zone. He can assist that block, no problem. So it's +1 strength to that shove. Interception and fumbles. Interceptions happen with the pass. If a player is in contact with the template, they get an option to intercept. I'm not going to get into all that, but that can trigger fumbles. Fouls. That's when somebody's knocked down. You can roll an extra thing to try to hurt them. I'm not going to get into that either. Referee skill descriptions. There's a lot more skills in the game. I want to skip ahead just because I want to get into the actual demo, and we're burning up a lot of time. So I'm going to skip over that. Another fun thing is the Blood Bowl. The Origins of Blood Bowl has a lot of fun fluff to read about the world of Blood Bowl and just kind of the fun adventures of it. So it's got a lot of famous games and things like that. The last thing in the rule book too is assembling your team, which you already talked about. It's really well done, really easy to follow. Putting the models together is a breeze. And then last but not least, again, a hint at what's to come. Death Zone Season 1 is coming. And you can see here we've got an ogre, we've got humans, we've got orcs, we've got goblins, we've got dwarves, we have Skaven. And if you remember earlier in the book too, we've also seen a dark elf. So could happen soon. I'm going to pause really quick, take a drink of water, and I'm going to set up a quick demo game to show off a quick turn. All right, so this is the really quick demo thing I wanted to show off. I've got the little situation set up here. The humans have pushed downfield. They're about to score a touchdown here. It's not looking good for the orcs. the humans have the ball, which, by the way, I wanted to show this off. It's neat to put a little peg on the ball so it actually fits right on the front of the base where the hole is. So it makes it pretty handy to see who has the football. So I'm going to play this live, basically. I've got all the cards laid out here, so I'm going to go through what each player is. I've got a thrower right here, human thrower. There's his card. I've got a lineman 1, lineman 2. There's the human lineman. I've got a catcher right here. Here's the catcher. And I've got a human blitzer right here, right there. So as far as strength and agility goes, across the table, pretty much humans are pretty average with 3 strength, 3 agility, except for the catcher who only has an agility, or sorry, only has a strength of 2. They all have their own special abilities though, except for the linemen, which are pretty much just straight up dudes. On the orc side though, I've got 2 orc linemen, lineman 1, lineman 2. And there's their card. You can see they're same strength and agility 3. Their movement's a little less, but their armor value's higher. Orcs actually play the long game. They like to slug it out and stick around. And I also have my favorite model in the whole set here, which is the black Orc Blocker. He's got a movement value of 4, strength 4, and agility 2. So I want to point out to you, as far as movement and stuff like that goes, the human player moves all their models first, and then the turn switches, and you go to the orc player, and they would move all their stuff. But I'm going to try to score right now. So I've got a movement value of 6 for my thrower. So just to count this out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm 8 if I go straight away, which means I can't even do 2 go for it rolls to get in there. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could go that way. So that's an option as well. If I could find a way to cut off some distance to that, I could maybe go for it and get in there as well. But I wanted to show off kind of the cool part about this game that I appreciate is that it's very much a kind of a combo game. You want to try to do stuff, but you want to do it in the most statistically beneficial way possible for you. So in my opinion, the fewer dice rolls you have to make on your turn to make it a successful play, the better. Because anytime you fail a dice roll, bad stuff happens. You can get knocked down, you can get a turnover. So you don't want to do that as much as possible. I could try to run this guy past everybody and just throw the ball to score a touchdown that way, but I think I'm actually going to try be a little bit tricky and do some cool pushing and shoving around here. So real quick, so I could just straight up push this guy from this using this lineman to block this orc. Just push him straight here. That would be a 1 die roll since we both have the same strength, and it would just be a straight die roll. So I need to stack the odds in my favor. So the best way to do that in this situation is to get some guys over there to assist. Now, unlike other games, you can't move a guy here, then move a guy here, do the block, and then continue the movement here. It's not how it works. You have to straight up finish an entire model's move before you can move on to the next model. So keep that in mind. I think what I want to do is I'd like to get my blitzer the block, get him in there to actually make the block die, because he's got the block skill, and if used, that can affect the results rolled on the block die as explained in the blocking rules, which we kind of went over already. So he's in a good spot to throw an assist. That'll give me a +1 strength bonus, which means I'll beat out the orc lineman. So I'll get to roll 2 dice, and I'll get to pick the result. Let's see here. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna call for a blitz. Or, yeah, I'm gonna call for a blitz. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go take my blitzer. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and now I'm in a tackle zone, and I'm gonna I have to lose a movement, but along this path I can actually do the blitz. So at any point when you call a blitz, at any point during the movement, you can issue a block. So at this point, I'm going to issue a block. I'm going to get an assist from this lineman, which means I'm going to need to roll 2 dice. And let's see what happens here. So I'm going to roll my dice live on camera. So that's a D6. I have to roll. Wrong die. Okay, so I got a push and I got a knockdown. That's actually a bad one. And there's actually a handy chart you can see here. That skull is the attacker knockdown, which I showed, which I'm not going to pick that result. I'm going to pick the push result. The defending player is pushed back by 1 square by the blocking player. The attacking player may follow up the defender. So I've got plenty of movement left. Again, that was 3 movement. I threw the block during a blitz. It's going to take away one of my movement points. I'm going to push him to there, and I'm actually going to follow up with my extra movement. I got 4 movement points spent. I'm going to go 5, 6, and I'm going to stop there. Just a quick etiquette thing too. Most people will turn the model around to show it's done for their turn. I like doing that too, just because it's a quick, easy thing to see. That way there's no confusion on which players have gone. At this point, I'm going to activate my lineman. And just because I want a little bit more cushion, I'm going to activate him, and I'm going to move up till here, and I'm going to try to push the orc again. Now, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I get the assist from here. The lineman's going to get that assist from the blitzer. I don't have a block ability, so this could be bad. We'll see what happens. All right, that was actually a really strong roll. I got 2 knockdowns. So knockdowns again, that's the defender down. The defending player is pushed back, and then knocked down, and the square they are moved to, the attacking player may follow up the defender. So that means he's going to get pushed back. I'm going to push him back to here, and I'm actually going to knock him down, and then he's going to follow up. So now he's going to be in the black orc blocker zone. You get to roll on the damage chart. So see if I beat his armor value of 9. So I'm going to roll 2d6. See if I beat a 9. I do not beat the 9. If that had been a human knockdown, it would have been bad. Then you roll the injury table, and it works from there. He's just knocked down. He's not stunned or anything, so you lay him face up. He'll pop up next turn. Okay, so that opens up a very clear line of path for my lineman here, or sorry, my thrower. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to go in the end zone. Let me turn this guy around 2. Turn this guy around here. Now it's all up to my thrower. Bump the table there, but here's what's going to happen. You get to use this awesome template for the throw. Now I could just throw from here, but I'm going to declare it first off. I'm going to declare that my thrower is going to throw the football. I could theoretically just throw from here. That would be a quick pass, short pass, long pass, which would end up being a -1 for the throw. I don't like those odds just because if the pass is accurate, you get a +1 bonus to catch the ball. If it's inaccurate, not so much. And then it could always bounce around. I don't want to do that. So I want to ensure that I get the best possible odds of scoring a touchdown this turn, which is kind of the name of the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't forget, a player can throw after they move. Unlike in American football, you can actually pass on the run there. So 4 lateral if you pass the line of scrimmage. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to move to right there with my movement value of 6. And after that, I get to make my full move, and then I'm going to throw. Check the template. I am within short range, no question there, down at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to roll a dot. So how this works, my player agility for the thrower right here. He is an agility 3, and I am making a quick pass, which is a +1 on the chart. So I need to make this, to be accurate, is a 3 up. Here goes. Off the table. All right, I don't know if you caught that, but I actually rolled a 2. Good thing is, this guy has the pass ability, so I get to re-roll the d6. Let me try that again. All right, that is a 6. I had to double check the ones on the bottom. That was a 6. That is a successful pass. So the ball's gonna leave his square and attempt to go here. Now, I have to catch it. So catching the football, it is an accurate pass. It's +1 to catch the ball. His agility, again, for the catcher is a 3. So same deal. It would normally be a 4 up, but I need a 3 up to catch the ball now. Catching an accurate pass is a +1. There's nobody in my tackle zone, so I'm clearing that. So here goes nothing. I rolled another 6. You saw it live on camera. That's the 6. It's the icon for Blood Bowl, not the 1. Boom, he catches the ball. Score a touchdown for the humans. That's pretty much it. Now, rolling like that, I could have made a long bomb, no problem. That's basically a quick demo of the game in action. Again, move all of your players first. I could have moved this guy, but I didn't want to waste the turn doing that. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's actually a really quick game. if you know what you're doing. Games can drag out if you're new or unsure about the rules. But you get a couple of games under your belt, you'll be knocking out games in 45 minutes to an hour, I think, pretty regularly. It is really fun, really straightforward. I really encourage players to try Blood Bowl out with league play because it's a lot more fun in a league. This is just a really basic, rudimentary example. I hope you guys stick with me through that, but really easy. Again, if you like those kind of games where you have to build kind of a combo or build out your little engine that can to get into the end zone, your Rube Goldberg contraction to make sure everything works, you'll really enjoy this type of game. Setup is super quick. Replay value is really high. There's going to be more teams coming soon. We've seen pictures of the boxes already of those. So I'm excited about Blood Bowl. I hope you are too. Go check it out. It's coming out this November. Thanks for bearing with me. I'm AdamHarry from BoLS, signing off.